I'm gonna share. Okay, so get the share going. Get my chat open. So as you can see, the website's still waiting to be updated. You can see it's trying to upload now. 92%. I'm going to cancel it because I can know it's going to just crash out on me. So look, I'll put up an announcement when it gets updated. There's something in here file-wise that keeps messing it up. Let me find that one file. It was called content something. While I'm here, this one. Delete. Computers are a pain sometimes. All right, I'll come back. All right, so we were working with Photoshop, but before that, let me get to assignment one. I know you guys have been all waiting to the end. Simple, guys, simple, and we'll talk about it as we go here, real quick. So it's a book cover, real quick assignment, and we'll go through book covers real quick in a second here, but design the front of a book cover for your favorite book. You should be using Photoshop as the main design software, meaning if you have something else you've drawn or scanned or something like that, you can bring that in, of course. Minimum file size is 6:9. We'll go through that. 300 DPI, RGB, and you're going to submit me the file as a PDF. And there's the email for me, and then the date will be the 23rd, so a little over a week and a half-ish. We got plenty of time for that. So let me go through real quick. Am I sharing? Did you see this? I am sharing, right? I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Let me just go through a book cover real quick. What we find on it, and all the glory of a book cover. So traditional book cover, words, right? You're going to have the words at the title of the book. The title of this book is Jab, 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 Right Hook. Author up top here, Gary Vaynerchuk. And then there's some other down here, how to tell the story in a noisy social media world. And they've got some icons. So in this particular case, it's obviously very text heavy, but I know they did this in Photoshop. I can tell by looking at it. One, there's this little kind of edgy border, like kind of old papery border, and there's this tint on the paper. So the paper actually has a tint, but there's also some extra speckles that are happening on it. These gloves were Photoshop, right? And you can see that I know they were cut out and put in place. And then of course the social media icons were made up. And they may have been drawn initially in Illustrator, but they were brought into Photoshop because there's a little bit of a texture put on top of it. So really simple. Again, it doesn't need to be overly photo heavy, but I want you to use Photoshop as the main one. Here's another example. This is 100 Parks, 5,000 ideas. So in this case, there's no real author, but it is National Geographic. They put it together. So it's a combination of stories and stuff that they put together. There's a little subtitle down the bottom here, where to go, when to go, what to see, what to do. Featuring national, city, and state parks, US and Canada, is telling me up here. But if you look, this whole cover is basically Photoshop. There's a background image, we've got the typography, and then they've taken individual images and put them into the O's or the zeros of the numbers, okay? Likewise, there is a spine, and what we only have to do is the front, but if you want to do the spine and then the rear, you can. Okay, I don't want to hold you back from your designing, and I'm just going to go through what we find on those just so you guys know. Typically on the spine is the title of the book and the author. Here's one here. It says jab, jab, right hook, the author, and then we have the publisher down here. Yes, Aaron. You got a question? Yeah.
What resolution would you like us to work
300
with
DPI.
here? 300.
300, yeah. So we'll go back through. I'm going to set up a file for you guys. And then typically on the back, you'll find either kind of a brief description, or in this case, some call outs of people that have reviewed it. And you're going to find typically the UPC down here in the corner. Here's this one here. Go back to this one. So again, it's just kind of information that's inside. They've got an additional image here, UPC, and then they got the price also on here. Okay, so again, they're stereotypically things you're going to find on a book. So the cover is typically obviously the title and the author. The spine is a title, author, and then there'll be the publisher. And then the back, some kind of intro about the book, or reviews, additional information, UPC, and in this case also the price that's going on down here. Okay, so that's kind of what we find on a book jacket. And let me go back to my share and give you my screen back. And so here are the basic requirements: 300 DPI, RGB. Save it as a PDF when you're all said and done, so you can email it to me. And 6:9 minimum. So let's do that. Let's get that going. So I'm just going to open up Photoshop. I'm just going to create new. And I'm going to go up here. We're going to go to inches. And I want it to be 6 wide. I want it to be 9 high minimum. I want it to be 300 in here for pixels, right? So pixels per inch, 300. RGB there. So don't pick CMYK or grayscale, but RGB. And that's going to be because that will let you work with all the filters and stuff. Okay, when we start working CMYK, it eliminates some of those filters and effects. And I don't want to limit you at this point. And ultimately, if I need it as a CMYK file to send to my commercial printer, I will save it at the end. I'll resave it as a CMYK file for them. And I'm going to hit create. And in this case, here it is, my book cover, the area that I want to work with. And let's just say I want it to be, I want to have, I don't know, I want to work on gray. So I'm going to come down to my color pickers, or my color choices down here in the lower left. Again, this is the foreground and the background. So we're going to click on this here. And I'll just pick maybe a gray. Need a little bit of a light gray, and click OK. And then I'm going to go to the paint bucket tool, which is, I don't know, 8 or 10 down. Looks like a little paint bucket. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go to my layer here, and I'm going to click, and we've just filled that layer with gray. And I want that to be kind of my background element that's going on. And then I'm going to start to build in my text, build in my, other elements. So text might be, whatever it's going to be. I'm going to make up a title here. And I did that. Let me give it my colors. And I'm just going to go with a simple font.
Professor,
Yes.
we have to pick a professional cover, or we could make it up our own.
No, pick a book that's your favorite. Pick any book that's your favorite. You must have a favorite book, And again, it doesn't need to be.
But do we have to choose a different color?
You're designing the cover, so however you want.
So any color is fine on the
Anyway,
cover.
yeah, you're a designer, so I don't want to tell you what color.
Oh, okay.
You're
I was just making sure.
Okay, so yeah, anything you want. And I'm just mocking up what you're going to be doing. I'm going to open up another picture I want to bring in here. And I think I have some space pictures. I like space. Who doesn't like space, right? There's posters. Maybe it's under NASA. NASA pics. Just speak, Aaron. You're good. Just shout it out.
All right. Ah, so it has to be a book, right? A book that you
a
have.
book. Now I'm making
Okay.
up a book here because I don't have one here, but yeah, we want it to be a book. All right, pick your favorite book.
Okay.
But I'm just quickly just showing you, you know, how you can do this. We pulled that out, so now we've got the moon. Maybe we want this to be black now. I can change that background color to that. Let me just make that. Let me go crazy. Let's do something a little bit weird. Okay. And then we would have an author's name on there. And then once you've done that, so again, we started this file. It's a 300 DPI file. It's 6x9. Again, that's a minimum size. I mean, these books are a little bit bigger. Okay, these are probably, I don't know, I'm going to say about 8 by 10, something around those lines. Looking for my tape measure. Designers always have steps. So this book is pulling out at 8. Well, I'm good sometimes. 8 by 9.5. Okay, pretty good guess in there. So that's 8 by 9.5. So I'm just saying 6 by 9 minimum size because I don't want to. We're not making little pocket books, little tiny books. We're making. I want to have room to design. And again, feel free to go through and start to add in things that we've done. You know, effects that we've done. So maybe I want to do some effects on that, and we'll do look at maybe a drop shadow. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to open up the other window again. Give it a little bit of a thing, a bit closer, a bit spread. So again, you can kind of go through and you can pick that, and I can take that same one and put that on the moon.
This kind of has an old-timey look, huh?
Well, in this case, yeah, it's just kind of this, I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of goofing off really quick, but to me, it kind of has that 1960s kind of pulp fiction kind of quick feel to it. Again, this is not based on a real book, so just, you know, make up a book. You know, find a book that you like. Okay, you don't have to physically have it, but I'm sure you've read books that you like, and you can the title and the author. And the imagery is up to you, but again, I want it mostly photo based. And then you can, you know, obviously do things to the image itself, right? You can there was some kind of, you know, an invert here. Maybe that's not right. Or let's see, maybe I can do a photo filter on top of that. Okay, so, you know, feel free to go through and play around and start to utilize the Photoshop and some of the stuff you've already been doing. Okay, So again, it's going to be due the 23rd. So we got plenty of time on this.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you bring out wild books?
I'm sorry. What was that again?
Do you make a wild books?
Can you make it? That's all I heard. It's cutting out.
Can we make a wild books?
No, well, no. I want you to use an actual book you read. Does that make sense? So pick a book you read, one of your favorite books. Everybody should have a favorite book. Okay. You know, whether it be a book you read a long time ago, I don't know, 1984 or Moby Dick, or, you know, or something more contemporary that you've read recently. Pick a book. Okay. I was just demoing to show you how to kind of set the file up so you guys can start to do
Okay.
this. That makes sense. Okay, so everybody good with that? So it's going to be due on the 23rd, and the requirements or specs are there on the assignment under the Canvas tab. That should be there. If it's not showing up there, let me know. But it should be here under assignment and 50 points. This says submitting to enter a text box. We don't have that. You're gonna email it to me. Okay. So no, we're not gonna turn it in through Canvas. You're gonna just send me an email with it. That makes sense, because Canvas and all this stuff is terrible. So
JPEG, right?
A PDF. Save it as PDF.
PDF.
PDF. So here I'm done. Let's say I'm
Okay,
done my
but-
file. I'm gonna do file, and I'm gonna save as, and I'm gonna go to a PDF. So in this case, it says Photoshop PDF, which is what you want. And I'm gonna just put it as test. I'm gonna put it on my desktop. Now, save it, turn off the layers. Okay, that's the one thing you need to do when you do PDF, is turn off the layers. Otherwise, it's gonna be a big file. I'm looking for just a small file. So layers is turned off. We'll go back through this again next week as we get closer. You can save it as the smallest file size under the drop downs. Okay. And that's going to actually turn off this idea of editing capabilities, which is good. I usually bump it up to the highest compatibility that's available and hit save. And then we'll look at that on the desktop. It's going to get buried on my desktop here. But Macrobat, I'm gonna find it here real quick. Open desktop. Called it test. Okay, so you can see here it is. It's 137 kilobits, which is tiny. File size wise, which is awesome. Means it's going to email really smooth and really quick. And we'll cancel that. There's a little bit of a jagginess coming on in here. You can see with the picture, but I'm not as worried about that right now. It's just really kind of putting it together. And when I look at it like this, it looks perfectly fine. Does that make sense? So don't worry about it's going to convert it down in resolution, and it's going to give you a little bit of pixelization. That's perfectly fine for right now. But I want you to start to work in 300 DPI, because you should be working in that pretty much all the time in Photoshop, at least 300 DPI. Sometimes I'll do more if I know it's going to be a bigger, I need it for some kind of a bigger assignment, but it should be 300. Couldn't find the assignment on the Canvas page. Nothing is under assignments. What is going on? See, that's why Canvas sucks. Don't you get it? Maybe it wasn't me because I didn't publish. We'll see if we did get it now. You hit save, you think that would do it, right? You hit save, it would publish it.
Well, actually, I couldn't find it on my Canvas page, so yeah.
It should be there now. Try now, because I didn't hit publish. I saved it, but I didn't publish. Now I'm unstable.
Oh, okay then.
So it should be there now. A couple of people were saying couldn't find it, but yeah, check it and see if it's in there now under your assignments.
Yeah, it's in there.
Is it or not? Okay. If you have questions, let me know. Again, it's not due till a week from Tuesday. So we've got a week and a half to work on this, so it won't be too difficult to do. And we'll also start our next project, which is the record album. We'll start that next week. Both of these will be kind of working on top of each other, but I don't think it's anything you guys can't handle at this point. It should be pretty simple to do. All right, so back at the Photoshop. So you can see real quickly, we were able to, we'll pull this out. A trick that I do a lot, and you saw here, I typed the word the and then the moon. I didn't try to hit return and make it different sizes. Because it's Photoshop and we're not typing out a book here, literally. We're not doing a paragraph. We're doing just, in this case, 2 words, the moon. And then we did the title, or the author rather, in this case, John Rose. So I like to kind of keep them separate. And the reason being is it gives me a lot more flexibility when I'm trying to design and move things around. Had these been the same, it would be a lot harder to make the word moon large and to keep the word the small. Okay, because it's designed to kind of keep it together. So when I look at the sizing here, it's 182, whatever it happens to be, point size. You can select one and make the other one big and the other one smaller, but it just gets really complicated, guys. It's a lot easier when you can just kind of select the one you want. And if you want it bigger, Command T and you got it, and you can transform. Just kind of drag it up or down to get to where you want from a design standpoint. Okay. And it lets you design and visually look, because we're all visual as to what it is, and go, okay, that's there. And we're going to make this one maybe a little bigger too, but not quite as big. Maybe we want that kind of edging off the page. And maybe now I say, oh, I don't want those effects going on, because I can turn those off, which is cool. We got the moon here. And we're going to put this title over here, John Rose, just kind of jumping out. So I'm kind of making this kind of step thing that might work. Or maybe not. Again, I can move these things around and put them where I want. Okay, so by having them individualized and separate, I think it gives you a lot more play and a lot more freedom to move them around. Had I done, I'm going to duplicate that. Had I done it this way, now these two are together. So now I got to get rid of the leading, which is the space in between. Okay, so I'm going to reduce the leading. Here it's at 115. So I'm doing a lot of work to kind of get in there. And that's the tracking. Hit the wrong button. So that's 60. It's going to end up being a little bit more. So now that's there. And now if I want the one bigger than the other, I got to select just that one. And then I got to make that larger. I'll make that here 100. Oops. 150. But now it's over top. So now I got to play with the leading again. It gets really complicated really quick. And you're going to get really slowed down. Okay. So if you have more than one word and you want it to be on the next line down, okay, make it a separate layer in your file. Okay. If they're going to be on the same line, like the moon is going to be the same line, you can do it this way. Okay. But even still, because we always play with size and shape and adjustments, it still makes it a little bit more difficult to work with. It's much easier in this case to take the 2 words and kind of line them up here. And I can do that, and I get these little guides that pop in from Photoshop when they're kind of lined up. Right there, get in there. There we go. And I can also use my align tools up here. Okay, I can select those two items and I can align them here. I can align them along the top. Okay, so I can use the computer to help me align things. Okay, I can center them. Okay, so it will be much, much more quicker and much, much more efficient for you to work in this kind of situation than to try to play with two words and kind of adjust the sizing or the tracking or the leading, that type of thing. So think about that as you're working, as you're typing out the title. So even something like, this jab, jab, right hook, they did jab, 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 and then they went to another line or layer of text, right, and then another one that said hook, because they really what ended up doing is taking out the O's in between here on this hook, okay, and then did all this up here separately, each one of these. So think about that as you're working. You want to work efficiently, and taking type and making it onto new lines or new layers, I should say, is going to be a much, much more efficient way of working and give you a lot more control. And it also allows you to expand and do other things like, well, we have the moon as one, but maybe we want the word the to be a different typeface altogether. So now I have that option. I can come in here and I can pick that to be something different in here. And let me just find something. Come on. And I'll scale that down. I know I want it to be smaller. Right, so I'm taking the and I'm making it a whole new typeface. Okay. Just because that's what I wanted. And I'm going to put that down to 0. Maybe even track it in a little bit more. What I'm doing is playing with this spacing between letter forms. All right, and then I'm going to select them both. I'm holding the shift key down and I'm going to align them. Let me get that out of the way here. Oops, so we want those top aligned and those are good to go. Okay, and you can't do that. You could do it, but it's really, really slow and hard if you have them on the same line. Okay, so get into that habit of kind of breaking things down so you can have that adjustment, to have that flexibility as you're designing. Likewise here we have, different layers. Even though I have this red as a background and I might be happy with it now, I might want to change that later. Okay, and if I somehow make it a part of layer 2 by merging down or such, I'm going to lose those kind of opportunities. So make sure that you're doing that. And maybe I'm going to do it a gradient now. And again, I selected my gradient, and we're gonna take that purple. That's kind of nice. And I'm on that layer, and I'm on the gradient tool. Now we made maybe do it the other way. Okay, we could play with a gradient that's coming in here on that background layer. Okay. I'm gonna select this type again, pull that down a little bit. I want that in the orange. And then we're going. Again, I don't know if it's good or not. We're just playing here. We're just kind of getting things going. But leave yourself layers. Save it as a PSD. So now we're going here. It's still untitled. I didn't save. I got the little star next to the file name. I should have saved a long time ago. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to call it just test. Again, so I know what it is. PSD, layers. I'm on my desktop. And I'm going to hit save. And now it's there. And I can go back to it later and tomorrow and work with it. Okay, does that all make sense? Okay. Again, don't forget things like my favorite filter, right? The camera raw filter. Before you work with the filters, again, I would suggest converting your file or your layer to a smart filter. Okay, and then I can get in here with my camera raw. It's going to open up the space. And again, the picture was bigger, so this is picture parts I didn't delete. I'm not worried about that right now, but I could, give that moon a different color. Look real quickly here. Play with the exposure a little bit. A little contrast, a little highlight. Pull out the shadows. And again, don't be afraid to use these like back and forth to see what they do. A lot of times we're very subtle with them, but until we push it to the extreme, then we don't really kind of know what it's really doing. And then we can go, okay, I'm looking for the darks, okay, and then I can make that a judgment decision as to how dark I want with something. Clarity, same thing, it's going to sharpen, or in this case, fuzzy, make it fuzzy. A little bit of sharp, same dehazing, takes away kind of the, we'll call it the fog that kind of goes around stuff. So that's kind of the foggy look. Okay, so dehazing will actually sharpen things in many ways. Saturation, a little vibrance. Boom, okay. And we made that difference to the moon. And again, because it's a smart filter, remember guys, I can turn that off, right, with one click of the button. Okay, and I can go back in and edit it also. So smart filters are definitely the way to go when you want to be doing filters. They give you that flexibility to come back later and make those changes and adjustments that you're going to want to do. Like I said, it's, a lot of design is experimentation. A lot of design is, you have a vision in your head and you think you know what you're doing and you think you have a direction, but as you start to go, we'll say down the rabbit hole, new ideas and things come up, and you're going to want to be able to have that adaptable change that you can do, so you can go, oh, that was cool, but maybe what about this? And it's not uncommon, at least how I work, is to go, okay, this is kind of cool, but maybe something new just popped into my head. And I'm just going to copy that whole layer because I like where it is, but maybe it's something new. I'm going to turn it off for now. With that, what are we doing? Let that get muted out. Okay. So I'm back here, and maybe I want to go, oh, maybe the camera raw wasn't right. I'm gonna turn that off. Maybe I want to do something else. I mean, what if it looked like, right? And I'm gonna play with this kind of, let me just distort, twirl, half tone. Yeah, maybe if it's a half tone, again, you're just kind of thinking, and boom, you do it. And that's kind of what the half tone looked out. It's like, oh, maybe that's what I want. Or that wasn't it. And if it wasn't it, then I can just turn that off and go back to the other one, and I'm back to where I was. Okay, so having layers and being able to copy and duplicate allows us to kind of experiment and go in different directions and come up with new ideas and new solutions. Okay, we most times don't have it all solved the second we start working. We have a vision. I mean, I have visions in my head as to what that thing is going to look like, that project, whatever it's going to be. But as I get into it, things will change. Things will get modified based upon kind of things that are happening as I'm designing, whether it be colors or shapes or textures or filter effects, whatever it happened to be. So give yourself that flexibility as you're working. Okay, you're gonna like that. Okay, and that's really kind of the fun part of designing, is being able to have that flexibility to change and modify and work up new ideas. Okay. Questions I want to show you all today, because I'm going to continue to get, let's see, I'm getting an unstable thing. I'm gonna basically restart everything here. I'm gonna try to get that website back up. I will send an announcement out to you guys when that is up. So look for that soon. Hopefully we'll get back on track soon, but we're going to keep going. We have the first project now to work on, which is our book cover. That'll be due on the 23rd. Questions? What kind of questions you got?
Just a front cover? Professor?
Yeah, just the front cover. If you want to do the spine and the back, by all means do. I'm not one that's
Okay.
gonna hold you back from designing. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
No, we got
I
a question about
actually
gradients.
have a
Oh, sorry.
question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Let's say somebody go first, and we'll work it out.
Oh,
We had a question about gradients.
Yes. Let me go back to my share. Okay. What's your question?
I think Angelique was asking about gradients just to show how it worked, I guess.
Yeah. I'll just turn all this off. So basically, under the paintbrush, or I'm sorry, the bucket tool, you can see the gradient tool. And what that's going to do is put a gradient over whatever layer it's actively working on. Okay, so in this case, I'm on this basically a blank layer. And these are the gradients that I have loaded up. You probably don't have all of these, but if you go under the little gear, you can import gradients. And you can go to your computer and you should have other gradients kind of loaded there. So you can load them up that way. Okay, so that's one way of loading up your gradients. And they go in different ways. So this is kind of like a, let me get that down so you can see. Gradient, like light to dark kind of thing. This is kind of a radial gradient. This is angled, a reflective, and then we have it called a diamond. So I'll show you that one here. That's kind of like a circle, more of like a sun kind of thing. That's a gradient. This is like a diamond. You can see this is kind of edge. This does it reflective, meaning it does top and bottom, the color. And then this is a diamond kind of deal. Okay, and again, these are all kind of adjustable with that. Let me get the gradient. Do I have it open here? And again, you have these built in, so you should be able to kind of, in this case, I'm just kind of clicking on it because the whole thing is a gradient at this point. And you can do gradients on top of things. Let me just give you an idea of that. So we'll go back here to the moon paint drawing. I'm gonna do a whole new layer. Oops, didn't want to do that. I'm gonna do a new layer. And then I'm gonna put a gradient on it. I'm just gonna pick my gradient tool and I'm gonna just pick one out of here to easier. Kind of feel cool. All right, so I just clicked and it basically filled that with a gradient. Well, you're going, well, that's no good. Well, it is okay because remember, if I can use my blending modes, I can start to pull in some really cool things here with that. Okay, so where it's going to basically, you know, in many ways, and it takes out the black area just because of the way it's blending. And now it's just putting the gradient over top of the moon itself. Okay, so those blend modes can be very, very helpful, especially when you're dealing with something like gradient or a color fill. Okay, so it's just a gradient fill here. And again, it's adjustable. If I don't want that, I can come back in here and I can click on the gradient and pick a new one. Okay, that might work better. And I can kind of just kind of select around to see what's kind of working for me. And then I can pick the style. Remember, these are those ones, the radial, angular. There's a diamond, is what is reflective, and then there's the diamond. So I can pick the one that I feel is working for me. And I can, there's the angle, because the angle is 90. That means it's linear this way. If I do this, you're going to see it's changing the angle of, in this case, the linear. Okay. And the scale is how big or how wide the gradient is. Okay, so it's preset at what should be the optimal, but let's say you want more yellow, you can kind of tweak that in so there's, in this case, more yellow, or I can get rid of the yellow and make it more, and I'm just moving the scale over. Okay, makes it more, in this case, magenta purple. Okay, so again, there's a lot of flexibility kind of built in to the computer, to the file, and to the layer that can be done. And then again, if you don't like that, you can come back through and just kind of go through and see which one works best for you. And I kind of like that overlay one. Okay. So that's kind of the gradient. Okay. So they're here. It kind of shows you the last ones you're doing. There's basically you can make them. Okay. So if I want a gradient of blue and orange, I have that here because it's based on the colors that I'm selecting. And you see that kind of here. Okay, so it's the foreground to background gradient. Okay, so whatever I happen to pick, I can do that with that. But you can also, again, have built-ins that are here. Okay, and these are all built in. And they should be in yours. Again, I just don't know what's on or off because I bring them all in as I go. Okay, but boom, you can click it here and you can make up your own gradients. So let me just pick one here just to show you how you make it. I'm just doing, this is basically a black to a pink kind of thing with a red tint. It's called copper. I'm going to call this one, I don't know, we'll call it Lincoln. It's almost his birthday. Tomorrow's Lincoln's birthday. So I'm going to make a gradient to him. Now, we're making a gradient. Okay, so there's preset gradients and there's ones you can make. Now, these little spots down here of color are the color that's being used in that gradient. And I can double click on it and I can see that color here on the color picker and I can pick it. If I want another color, I can add that in. And you'll see it's making that change on it. And what also does is there's this diamond here is basically the break point as to where is it going to switch from one to another. Okay. Now I put that in, I need to delete that out. I'm gonna delete this one out. But I can move that around as to where those changes are made in there. Okay, and I can move these around. So I can put, for example, the black further in. You can make this gradient this way. So you have complete control over that gradient and as to how many colors. In this case, there's 5 colors in this gradient. If I don't want a color, I select it. You can see the little black arrow, hit delete, select, delete, select, delete. And now I've got this black to kind of a rose. And again, I can pull that down. And then I get this other diamond, and that determines how far that gradient goes and where it blends starts to happen from one color to the next. So typically it's in the middle, but you may want it further to the left or further to the right. Once you're done with it, you'll call it the name that you want. I thought I named it, but maybe not. Lincoln, and click OK. And it added it somewhere to this. Yeah, where did it put it at? It put it in here. God knows. Get so much going on sometimes. In there. So you can make up your own gradients and adjust them, and you can adjust the ones that are already there. That makes sense? Questions on that? Gradients, does that make sense? In Illustrator, it's a little bit different. They're kind of all built together into the colors palette. In Photoshop, colors, which are swatches, and gradients are separate. Audio keeps cutting out. I don't know. I'm told you I'm having a bad connection here, so let me see. Makes sense. Favorite book, Trojan War. That's fine. That's totally fine. It's your favorite book. Don't let me dictate. And again, it could be fiction or nonfiction. Your choice on that. Okay. Harry Potter. My daughter's reading Harry Potter. She's on the fourth book now. So she's moving along pretty well on that. Kind of amazing. Okay. Questions, other questions? All right, so I'm gonna stop the share. I'm gonna pause our recording.